Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Story number 1, Shooting Stars, written by Zentaps. Something that people tend to forget when it comes to space travel is Newton's first law of motion. The first law of motion is often stated as thus: an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction, unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. In layman's terms, this means that if you threw an object, it would continue to move indefinitely. Of course, on a planet, there are external forces like gravity and drag that would act against the object and bring it to rest through collision with the ground. But in the void of space, none of these factors exist. For space travel, this means whatever amount of energy propelled you forward must also be used to slow you down. In the late 21st century, a meteorite exploded over San Francisco. The shock wave toppled buildings, shattered concrete, and took many lives. The resulting destruction led to a massive outcry and resulted in the formation of Stellar Tracking, an organization drawing membership from many parts of the world, tasked with the monumental task of tracking objects in the solar system. To achieve this task, an array of satellites and deep space radar were created to watch the cosmos. As humans began to venture into the stars, the ST expanded its role to help ships navigate through the designated safe lanes in space. In the 23rd century, when the commercial mining of asteroid belt was still in its adolescence and the colonization of Mars was just nearing completion, the ore hauler Regulus reported engine trouble before losing contact en route past Io, the moon of Jupiter. Those 32 souls aboard the Regulus might have been forever lost if it wasn't for ST Station 22, a simple radar platform which kept eyes on the local region. As the incident progressed, they listened to the radio transmissions, turned to distress calls. The whole system tuned in on the broadcasts of the tragedy. Station 22 could track the ore hauler on their scopes, watching it go further and further, of course. Soon, the ore hauler would be out of range of any possible help. The crew of Station 22 made a decision to attempt to intercept. 3 jumping into small shuttle and the other half of the crew plotting a course and making up the rest of the plan. There was no plan in place and no precedent to follow. No one had ever attempted this sort of rescue before. To catch up with the lost ore hauler, the shuttle would have to push itself to its maximum acceleration to reach the high speed of travel the ore hauler was moving at. An interesting thing to note about human physiology: humans can function at any speed. The distinction to make is in regards to acceleration. As the saying goes, it wasn't the speed of the crash which killed them, but the sudden deacceleration. And as physics teacher would tell you, deacceleration is not a thing and acceleration is always possible. But that is something unimportant to the story. The ST shuttle crew pushed themselves to the limits. 2 passed out as they accelerated their small craft to match the speed of the out-of-control ship as they raced to intercept. But they succeeded, and in 2 days' time reached the radio contact with the freighter. The freighter had lost control of its engines, all fuel reserves spent in an uncontrolled and unplanned burn, unable to change their velocity and no longer accelerating. Carefully, the shuttle dialed in to match the speed of the freighter. A miscalculation would result in the destruction of the shuttle and ensure the doom of the ore hauler. And then slowly, as the whole world watched, they docked with the ship. As simple as that sounds, it is no small feat. The target, a little bit bigger than door as a landing pad. The connection had to be seamless and smooth. No margin for error. But it was done. It took only a few minutes for the freighter crew to be evacuated into the shuttle. After that, the shuttle detached and began to reverse burn to return to the solar system and civilization, nearly depleting its remaining fuel. The success of their mission rippling across the solar system as the information traveled at light speed. The entire crew of Station 22 were hailed as heroes. They broke records on that day of history. Fastest speeds for a human in space, greatest amount of acceleration endured, furthest distance out of the solar system for a living human being. Stellar tracking was remade, becoming known as the Stellar Tracking and Rescue, colloquially known as STARS. In addition to their prior duties of navigation and guidance, they now act as the first responders, providing aid to distress calls, chasing down rogue out-of-control ships, helping those when they are most alone. It came to be that when a breakthrough in engine technology was made, the prototypes were given to the STARS. In this way, the STARS would always have the fastest ships to accomplish their mission. And when interstellar travel was discovered and humanity set off to explore the galaxy, the STARS continued to grow. Their role became even more critical during contact wars, and the following fortress wars in which they monitored space for alien incursion. When the wars ended, the STARS returned to their roots. Like air traffic controllers of old Earth, they guided vessels through the many dangers of space, micrometeors, electromagnetic storms, and drifting hazards. As contact with friendly alien species was made, the STARS continued to distinguish themselves, extending their hand to anyone at any species in need. Their daring rescues, exemplary of their high resilience and willingness to try when others would not. A notable operation of theirs was the rescue of a massive out-of-control alien dreadnought on collision course with a densely populated planet of billions. The crew aboard the dreadnought immobilized from the high speeds, the heavy shields too powerful to sufficiently destroy the dreadnought in time. The collision of the dreadnought with the planet was expected to kill hundreds of millions, even with the evacuation underway. Then, the STARS entered the picture, swooping across the sky, blazing trails of light as they cut through the darkness. Over 100 modified star shuttles slipped through the shields and attached to the hull of the dreadnought, and using their engines, they diverted the colossal ship from a collision path, preventing a planetary disaster and gaining the goodwill of an entire species. It was this mission that earned them the nickname the Shooting Stars, and the name stuck. Their ion trails as they blazed across the sky, becoming a symbol of how humanity dares. End of story. Story number 2. Know Your Place, written by Urania P.
Know your place, human,
said the representative Messin of the Cylon.
You are the newest member of the galactic community, and we are the first. We were already colonizing the known space while the others were still fighting themselves or launching rockets into the sky of their homeworld. And that was when your people had just started leaving the nomadic lifestyle behind in favor of cities because it was easier to make beer that way.
Messin reminded. His black, shiny eyes looked upon the human representative before him.
You have no right to colonize as fast as you are right now. You have not the honor of the Alkari, the ages of the Sakra, and the straightforwardness of the Balrati, nor the rights to conquest of the Mishran. And you will see those colonies to more deserving members, or else you shall face war.
The Cylon threatened. Representative Reynolds had been quiet, but at the threat of war, he could not help but crack a smile and chuckle.
War? Do you even know what you're saying?
He asked, trying and failing to control his laughter.
True! We are the youngest member of the council. True that we do not have a long history of honor of the Alkari, the age of the Sakra, the durability of the Balrathi, or the predatory prowess of the Mishran. We don't even have the so-called enlightenment yours,
the human admitted. But before Messin could look half pleased, Reynolds continued.
But if you mistake that as making us weak, you will find yourself very, very wrong. We are not like any others here, and you cannot simply group us into any one of them. We are not as durable as the Balrathi, so we dig into our planet and forge armor. We are not as old as the Sakra, so time is precious and we do not waste. We are not honor-bound as the Alkari,
So we have been making warships since before the day we joined, Reynolds said, letting that sink in for a moment. Look at me. Look at my limbs, my claws, my fang, my head. I have no natural weapon. Compared to the Mashan, hell, compared to any of the other species of the Council, I am weak. The only thing that I have that makes me dangerous is this, he said, tapping the side of his skull. I was not born into the role of a predator. I choose to be a predator. In what we lack, we make it ourselves, better than what evolution could have done. You say that you've been conquering stars since the day that we were still but wandering nomad tribes on our world. Well, today we are amongst you in the stars, and you are still the very same spot that you were. Reynolds straightened his back as he stared straight ahead at the representative Messon. You threaten us with war, but what kind of war? Is it the kind the Alkari fight, where battles are settled with honorable duels, like the Mershan, where they take what they can and no more? Or perhaps like yours, where isolation and boycotts are the best you can do? Reynolds asked. He can see the Cylons are agitated now, no doubt, from his taunts. We've seen how you fight. We've seen what you called war. And I'm going to assume that you've never seen how humanity fights. Our wars are not like yours. If war were to be declared, we will not settle disputes with personal duels, nor would we stop simply because we were full to let our enemies rest and repopulate. Reynolds shook his head. No! Humanity fights. We fight war of extermination. You will find our grandest fleets chasing your fleets from the borders all the way to your own world. The nuclear fire will be the hell that you and your children burn in, the human threatened before his posture relaxes. But despite that, we can do all of that. Humanity desires peace, a true universal peace, and we will do anything to achieve it, even if it means humanity will be the only species left in the known universe. The human's hands came together in a clasp as he looked straight into the black eyes of the Cylon across the table from him. So, Representative Messon, for your sake, I hope that you will never see how humanity wage wars. End of story. I just quickly want to thank the Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Alithia Barkey, Cam Maxwell, Caspar Arnholtz, Albarden Guster, Arcadian, Lord Azrakal, and Joachim Backer.